Welcome to The Good Ride. I'm James Beastie, aka all that is unapologetically average, and I'm here to talk about the Libtech Lost Mayhem Sweetfish. This is a board that takes a lot of inspiration from the Lost Rocket from Libtech, but has a lot of tweaks and takes it in a little more directional setback flavor from the Rocket. Comes in slightly different sizing, has that same knife cut centered base that gets very thirsty and requires a lot of waxing. Doesn't have the edge hold that a lot of Libtech magna traction boards have, but other than that, it's a very fun board to turn. It pops very well, and it looks like it would be an amazing floater. So I rode this with my Union Force Bindings Nitro Team TLS boots and got this in some firm but fair and often fun groomers up at Mission Ridge in Wenatchee, Washington. I didn't get to do an extended demo because after Altamont bought Libtech and they didn't see the profits they wanted, they gutted the company. I lost all my marketing contacts. Then even worse, the nearest rep is like 9 hours away from me. So it's been challenging, to say the least, to get a board from Libtech. I drove up to the demos to get a few runs on this to give you a take. Not a full take like we normally do, but a take that hopefully still helps. And as you know, this is an honest, objective review from an average rider's perspective. I can do that thanks to Blauer Board Shop. They're a family-run business that's been around forever, selling to snowboarders longer than most resorts have been allowing snowboarders. They have recently made a push to create a much larger online presence. They can compete with the big stores in terms of pricing, shipping, and customer support. So if you want to support honest, objective content and a great shop that's been helping snowboarders forever, buy through our links to Blauer Board Shop. It would be greatly appreciated. Now, when it comes to sizing, this 156 I rode felt like a great fit. I like this fit on the 56 a little better than I do the 57 on the Lost Rocket. I felt like I had a little more edge-to-edge control. Now, if I went from here to the 62, it really gets wider, and I don't think I would like it on groomers, but I would love it on deep powder days. So if you're like my specs and you want a daily directional driver for groomers and powder, that 56 is going to be great. And if you're much bigger in terms of boot size and the same or heavier than me, that 162 is going to be great. I wish they had more in-between sizing, but it's nice to have lows, mediums, and highs for a new release. So when it comes to shape, this is pretty tapered and very directional. It also is very setback on side cut at 3 inches. That's a lot. Now what Mervin, aka Libtech and GNU does with a lot of their boards is they make a board that's very setback on side cut, but not very setback on board. But I will say it does feel more setback towards the tail like an actual ocean surfboard versus the Lost Rocket. That feels a little more centered, a little less back towards the tail. And while this doesn't have as much taper as the Lost Rocket, it does feel more tapered than the Lost Rocket, and especially more setback and directional. But it's still not fully there with a lot of true snow surfboards like Moss, Gentum Stick, Soul, and many other brands that really try to make a board that emulates snow surfing. This still has a little bit of a snowboard feel. That's not good or bad, it's just what it is. And when it comes to camber profile, this seems to have a very similar camber profile to, of course, the Lost Rocket, but also the Libtech Librig. It's got a lot of camber, but a good bit of early rise before the nose and tail. It's very stable, yet forgiving. Even a committed beginner who knows they're more into snow surf could go with this, but it's great for intermediates on up to experts who don't want to always be on their game and have to deal with full camber all the time and the catchiness that's associated with it. but still have this track really well. And even though this has less taper than the Lost Rocket, I felt a little bit more of a triangular feel when one footing and flat basing. It didn't feel quite as stable and easy tracking, but still tracks pretty well for a tapered directional setback ride like this. So this doesn't have magnet traction, but the grip is very competent in all conditions. You just have to dial back your turns a little bit in harder snow and icy snow. There are going to be better boards out there like the Gremlin or the Orca or other brands that have more disrupted grippy side cuts. I don't get to flex this in front of the camera for you, but it definitely has a medium, bordering on medium stiff flex, medium stiff between the feet, softer in the nose for me, and the tail as well, maybe a touch stiffer. Even though there's no carbon in the construction, I still found that this popped very well, had a good ollie to it and a good spring out of the turn. It was pretty easy to butter in the nose and tail, and I think that's because of the early rise before bolt. And it's not a bad board switch for how directional it is. It still has a little bit of a snowboard feel versus a snow surf feel if you throw it around. I do like the Lost Rocket a lot better than I do this though. And you get this out in uneven snow, hard, micro bumpy. It did a very good job, maybe not the best of the best, but most people won't be bummed. This is going to do great in soft, uneven snow. It's going to be a nice balance between being poppy and not too bucky, bouncy, and chattery when conditions are uneven. And then when you look at the base, this has the knife cut centered base, which I am not personally a fan of. I find that it is very thirsty and requires almost daily waxing for it to keep its medium, bordering on medium fast speed. There are a lot of faster bases out there, but there are a lot more bases that keep their wax better than this. And I've done extensive testing with the help of my buddy, a tuner at Mount Bachelor, who spent many years tuning boards. Alfredo gave this a base grind, waxed it several times. I took it home, gave it a few more waxes over and over again over the course of a few days. Then took it out up onto the hill, and after just 2 runs, I was already seeing dry marks. By the end of the day, it was almost dry again. So you can't really win with this knife cut centered base, but if you're into waxing a lot, then this could work for you. And when it comes to turning, this initiated a turn really quickly. I thought it was faster than the Lost Rocket for sure. Then when you really engage the side cut into a turn, this side cut is definitely more on the turny side versus the balance side. And for me, it liked to always be turning. It wasn't the best at going straight and really pointing it. So if you like those higher down the line, longer, drawn out S-turns, this might not be for you, but if you live to circle and across the groomer carve and make medium radius, playful, fun, slashy, quick turning turns, this will be a great board for you. The spring out of the turns, exceptional. I rode it posi and found that it needed a little bit more back foot weight for me. I didn't feel that front foot weighted turns were as good, but another person who was riding this board the same day as me said he was okay with a front foot weighted turn, and he set it up even more directional than me. I think closer to like 30-15, where I was plus 24, plus 6. I didn't see how hard he committed to the turns, so maybe that helps if you go more posi. And when it comes to POW, I wish I had some, but knowing how well the Lost Rocket floats in powder, with this similar shape, a little bit more setback on side cut and board, and a tail with similar surface area that sinks very well. This looks like it would even sink better. I'm pretty sure this would be an amazing powder board. Just make sure you wax the hell out of that base the night before so you have better glide for most of the day. And overall, I would have loved to have tested this in more detail, but that was the best I could do for this wonderful community that I have here, and I hope this helps.